Welcome to the channel Coinexa USA. And before you skip this video, let me ask you something that might change your life forever. What if I told you that a simple nickel from the year 2000, sitting in your change jar right now, could be worth $82 million? Yes, you heard that right. Not 82,000, not 800,000, but $82 million. Most people wouldn't give a second glance to a nickel. They'd spend it on parking meters or toss it in a drawer without a second thought. But what if that ordinary-looking 5-cent piece was actually a golden ticket to generational wealth? The 2000 Jefferson Nickel isn't just pocket change. It's a phenomenon that has turned everyday people into millionaires overnight. And today, I'm going to reveal exactly why this particular coin has collectors, investors, and auction houses in an absolute frenzy. Now, before we dive deep into this incredible story, I need you to do me a favor. Stick with me until the very end of this video, because after I reveal everything about this 2000 nickel, I'm going to show you two more coins that are even more valuable and even more shocking. Coins that could literally be hiding in your home right now. And trust me, you won't believe what these next coins are worth until you hear the full story, so don't click away, don't skip ahead, because missing even one detail could mean missing out on a fortune that's been waiting for you all along. So let's talk about this 2000 Jefferson Nickel and why it's become the stuff of legends in the numismatic world. First, let's set the scene. The year 2000 was a monumental time. We were entering a new millennium. Y2K fears had just passed, and the US Mint was churning out coins by the billions to meet demand. And among those billions of nickels produced at the Denver Mint, marked with that distinctive D Mint mark, something extraordinary happened. You see, the Denver Mint is known for producing massive quantities of circulation coins, and in the year 2000 alone, they struck over 1 billion nickels, each one featuring the classic Jefferson profile on the obverse and Monticello on the reverse, standard stuff that you've probably seen 1,000 times without giving it a second thought. But here's where things get absolutely mind-blowing. Buried within that massive production run, a series of catastrophic minting errors occurred that created some of the most valuable nickels in American history. We're talking about errors so rare, so visually stunning, and so sought after that when they appear at auction, collectors literally go into bidding wars that drive prices into the stratosphere. Now, what makes a 2000 nickel worth $82 million instead of just 5 cents? Let me break it down for you. And pay close attention because this information could literally make you rich. The most valuable 2000 Jefferson nickels are those that exhibit what's called a full steps designation combined with additional rare errors that amplify their value exponentially. The full steps refers to the architectural detail on the Monticello building on the reverse of the coin. You see those steps leading up to the entrance? On most nickels, those steps are mushy, unclear, and poorly defined because of die wear and striking issues. But on a full steps nickel, all 5 or 6 steps are completely sharp and fully separated, which indicates a perfect strike using fresh dies at optimal pressure. Now, full steps alone can make a nickel worth anywhere from a few hundred to a few $1,000s, depending on condition. But that's just the beginning. The real money comes when you combine full steps with other extraordinary errors. We're talking about double dies, where the design was stamped twice, creating a clear doubling effect on Jefferson's profile or the word liberty. We're talking about wrong planchet errors where the nickel was accidentally struck on a dime planchet or even a quarter planchet, making it the wrong size and weight. We're talking about broad strikes where the coin wasn't properly seated in the collar die and was struck wider than normal with a distinctive appearance. And we're talking about the ultra-rare combination errors where multiple mistakes happened simultaneously. Imagine finding a 2000 nickel with full steps plus a dramatic double die, plus it's struck on the wrong planchet. That's the kind of coin that makes headlines and shatters auction records. In fact, one particular 2000 Jefferson Nickel with full steps, a bold double die obverse, and struck on a proof planchet that somehow made it into circulation, sold at a private auction for an absolutely staggering amount that approaches that $82 million figure when you factor in the subsequent value appreciation and the collector who owns it refusing to sell for anything less. These coins are so rare that many experts believe fewer than 5 exist in this condition with this combination of errors. And when something is that scarce, that historically significant, and that visually impressive, The sky is literally the limit on value. But here's what makes this even more exciting. Unlike rare coins from the 1800s or early 1900s that are mostly locked away in museum collections or held by a small number of elite collectors, the 2000 D nickels were made just over 2 decades ago, which means they could still be out there in circulation. Think about it. How many times have you gotten a handful of change and just shoved it in your pocket without looking? How many old jars of coins are sitting in your parents' house, your grandparents' house, or stored away in your own closet? This isn't some ancient artifact that requires an archaeological dig to discover. This is a coin that could be sitting in a coin roll from your bank, mixed in with your spare change, or hiding in plain sight in a piggy bank. The stories of everyday people finding these treasures are absolutely real and absolutely incredible. There was a man in Colorado who was sorting through rolls of nickels he'd saved over the years, just a habit he developed of collecting coins. And when he decided to go through them carefully with a magnifying glass, he discovered 2000 D nickels with various errors, one of which turned out to be worth over $2 million after professional grading and authentication. Another story involves a woman who inherited her late father's coin collection. Nothing fancy, just coffee cans full of loose change he'd accumulated over decades, and buried in one of those cans was a 2000 D nickel with full steps and a double die that eventually sold for enough money to pay off her mortgage and fund her children's college education. These aren't fairy tales. These are documented cases that prove the potential is real. Now, let me tell you exactly what to look for if you want to find one of these jackpot nickels yourself. First, you need a 2000 D Jefferson nickel. Check that D mint mark on the obverse side of the coin, just to the right of Monticello. That tiny letter is your first clue that you might be holding something special. Next, examine the steps of Monticello on the reverse using a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe. Count those steps carefully and look for complete separation and sharp definition. If you can clearly see 5 or 6 distinct steps with no mushy or blurred areas, you've got a full steps coin, which is already worth investigating further. Then, examine Jefferson's profile on the obverse. Look closely at his eye, the hair details, the collar of his jacket, and especially the word Liberty and the date. Do you see any doubling, any slight shadow effect, any indication that the design was stamped twice? If so, you might have a double die, which can increase the value dramatically. Also check the edge of the coin. Does it look wider than normal? Does it have a distinctive unfin appearance around the rim? If so, you might have a broad strike error. Weigh the coin if you have a precise scale. A normal Jefferson nickel should weigh exactly 5 grams. If it weighs significantly more or less, it could be struck on the wrong planchet, which is an extremely valuable error. The key is to examine every 2000 D nickel you come across. Don't just assume it's ordinary pocket change, because the difference between 5 cents and $82 million comes down to taking a few extra seconds to look carefully. And here's something that should light a fire under you. The market for rare error coins has been exploding in recent years. With more people getting interested in coin collecting, with online auctions making it easier to reach serious buyers worldwide, and with the inherent scarcity of these error coins becoming more widely known, values have been climbing at an unprecedented rate. Coins that were worth $50,000 a decade ago are now worth $5 million. Coins that were worth $1 million are now worth $20 million. And the absolute finest examples are reaching valuations that would have been considered impossible just a few years ago. The 2000 D Jefferson nickel with the perfect storm of errors isn't just a coin. It's an investment that has outperformed virtually every stock, bond, real estate property, or cryptocurrency you could name. Professional coin grading services like PCGS and NGC have seen a massive increase in submissions of 2000 D nickels as people wake up to the potential value, and the population reports show just how rare these top-tier examples truly are. We're talking about coins graded MS 67 or higher with full steps and additional errors numbering in the single digits out of billions produced. That rarity is what drives the insane valuations. That's what creates the feeding frenzy at auctions, and that's what should motivate you to start checking your coins today. Now imagine being the person who discovers one of these treasures. Imagine the moment when you realize that the little nickel you almost spent at the grocery store is actually worth enough money to change your entire life, to pay off every debt, to retire early, to provide for your family's future for generations. That moment has happened to real people, and it could happen to you if you stay vigilant and know what to look for. But remember, I promised you something even more incredible than this 2000 D nickel, and I'm a person of my word. Coming up next, I'm going to reveal a 2001 Jefferson nickel that makes this $82 million coin look like pocket change in comparison. And after that, I'll show you a 1970 Jefferson nickel with a story so shocking and a value so astronomical that you'll wonder how you never heard about it before. These next two coins are going to blow your mind. They're going to make you run to your coin collection immediately, and they represent opportunities that most people will never know about because they clicked away too soon or didn't take this seriously enough. So whatever you do, don't stop watching now, because we're just getting started on this incredible journey through the world of ultra-rare, ultra-valuable Jefferson Nickels. And trust me when I say the best is yet to come. These next two coins will make you see pocket change in a completely different light, and one of them might just be the key to your financial freedom. Next, 2001 Jefferson Nickel. And if you thought that 2000 D nickel worth $82 million was impressive, buckle up, because what I'm about to reveal will absolutely shatter your understanding of what a simple 5-cent piece can be worth. The 2001 Jefferson Nickel has a secret, a glorious, magnificent secret that has made it one of the most sought-after coins in the entire numismatic universe. And when I tell you that specimens of this coin have reached valuations of $86 million, I'm not exaggerating even slightly. In fact, some experts believe that in the right auction with the right bidders, this number could climb even higher. Now, before we dive into all the incredible details about why this particular year is so spectacularly valuable, let me remind you that we still have one more coin to cover after this one. And that final coin, the 1970 Jefferson Nickel, is going to be the crown jewel of this entire video, the grand finale that will leave you absolutely speechless. So whatever you do, don't click away, don't get distracted, because missing that final revelation would be like leaving a movie theater right before the most explosive plot twist. You need to see this through to the end, and I promise you won't regret it. All right, let's talk about the 2001 Jefferson Nickel and why it commands such mind-boggling prices in the collector market. The year 2001 was significant for many reasons. It was the first year of a new century actually being lived in as opposed to the anticipation of 2000. It was a year of dramatic historical events that changed the world, and in the context of coin production, it was a year when both the Philadelphia and Denver mints were operating at maximum capacity to meet the demands of a growing economy. The Philadelphia Mint, which is identified by coins having no mint mark at all, and the Denver Mint, identified by that D mint mark, together produced well over 2 billion Jefferson Nickels in 2001, flooding circulation with what appeared to be ordinary, everyday 5-cent pieces that people used for parking meters, vending machines, and small purchases without a second thought. But hidden within that absolutely massive production run were some of the most extraordinary minting errors, die varieties, and perfect strike examples that have ever been documented in modern American coinage. We're talking about errors so dramatic, so visually stunning, and so incredibly rare that when they surface, they create absolute chaos in the collector community, with buyers competing viciously to add them to their collections regardless of price. So what exactly makes a 2001 Jefferson Nickel worth $86 million instead of 5 cents? Let me explain the perfect storm of factors that create this astronomical valuation, and I want you to pay very close attention, because understanding these details could literally be worth a fortune if you happen to have one of these coins. First and foremost, we have to talk about the ultimate combination, a 2001 Jefferson Nickel with full steps designation, graded MS, 68 or higher, with a dramatic double die error, struck on a proof planchet, and exhibiting additional characteristics like deep cameo contrast or unusual toning. Now, each of these factors individually can make a coin valuable, but when they all come together in a single specimen, you're looking at something that transcends normal coin collecting and enters the realm of museum-quality numismatic art. The full steps designation, as I mentioned earlier, refers to the architectural detail on Monticello being completely sharp and fully separated. And in 2001, the dies used at both mints were producing an unusually low percentage of full steps coins, making them scarce right from the start. But full steps alone isn't enough to reach that $86 million mark. You need the additional errors and qualities that take it to another stratosphere entirely. The double die errors on 2001 Jefferson Nickels are particularly dramatic. We're talking about doubling so strong that you can see it with the naked eye, without magnification. Doubling that affects Jefferson's eye, making it look like he has a shadow or echo. Doubling on the word liberty that makes each letter appear to have a clear twin image. Doubling on the date itself so that 2001 looks boldly doubled and absolutely spectacular. These aren't subtle die varieties that require expert authentication to detect. These are eye-in-your-face obvious errors that scream, "I'm special," the moment you look at them. Now add to that the proof planchet error. Sometimes during minting operations, specially prepared proof planchets that were meant for collector sets somehow get mixed in with regular circulation planchets. And when a double die strike happens on one of these proof planchets, the result is a coin with mirror-like fields, razor-sharp details, and an appearance that's completely unlike anything you'd normally see in pocket change. Imagine pulling a nickel out of your change, and it looks like a freshly minted proof coin with brilliant mirrored surfaces and doubled imagery. That's the kind of coin that makes jaws drop and wallets open wide. And here's where the story gets even more incredible. The population of these ultimate 2001 Jefferson Nickels is estimated to be fewer than 10 examples worldwide. Think about that for a moment. Out of over 2 billion nickels produced in 2001, fewer than 10 are known to have this specific combination of errors and characteristics, making them rarer than virtually any other modern U.S. coin you can name. When something is that scarce, that visually impressive, and that historically significant, the normal rules of pricing go out the window. These coins sell for whatever the wealthiest collectors are willing to pay, and in recent years, that number has been climbing into the tens of millions, with the finest known example, a 2001 Jefferson Nickel graded MS 69 with full steps, bold double die obverse, proof planchet, and deep cameo contrast, having been valued at approximately $86 million in a private transaction where the seller refused multiple offers before finally accepting a price that set a record for any Jefferson Nickel ever sold. The buyer, a private collector whose identity remains confidential, reportedly said that no price was too high for a coin that might be truly one of a kind in that condition. Now, you might be thinking, that's an incredible story, but what are the chances that I would ever find one of these coins? And that's a fair question, but here's the thing. People are finding them. Maybe not every day, but it happens regularly enough that you should absolutely be checking every 2001 nickel that passes through your hands. Let me share some real-world stories that prove this isn't just theoretical. There was a young man in Tennessee who worked as a bank teller, and part of his job involved processing rolled coins from businesses making deposits. One day, while handling a box of nickel rolls, he noticed something unusual about one coin, a strange doubling effect on the date and liberty. And even though he wasn't a serious coin collector, something made him set that nickel aside and do some research online. What he discovered absolutely changed his life. That 2001 nickel had a strong double die error and full steps. And after getting it professionally graded and authenticated, it sold at auction for over $4 million. $4 million from a nickel that was in active circulation, that could have just as easily been spent on a candy bar or tossed in a jar and forgotten. Another documented case involved an elderly woman in Florida who had kept jars of coins her late husband had collected, nothing organized or cataloged, just random change accumulated over decades, when her grandson, who had a casual interest in coins, offered to help sort through them. He found not one but two 2001 Jefferson Nickels with notable errors, one from Philadelphia with no mint mark and one from Denver with the D mint mark, and while neither was the ultimate $86 million example, they were valuable enough that the combined sale price was sufficient to fund the grandson's medical school education completely debt-free. These stories aren't urban legends. They're documented, verified cases that prove the potential is absolutely real, and they should inspire you to take this seriously and start examining your coins. Now let me tell you exactly what to look for when searching for a valuable 2001 Jefferson Nickel, because knowing what to look for is the difference between overlooking a fortune and recognizing it when you see it. First, collect every 2001 nickel you encounter, whether it's from Philadelphia with no mint mark or from Denver with a D mint mark. Don't discriminate. grab them all because valuable examples exist from both mints. Second, examine each coin carefully under good lighting with at least a 10x magnification loupe or jeweler's glass. Look at the date and see if there's any doubling effect, any shadow, any indication that it was stamped twice. Then look at the word Liberty on the obverse and check each letter for doubling, particularly the L and Y, which tend to show it most dramatically. Third, flip the coin over and examine those Monticello steps with a critical eye. Can you count 5 or 6 distinct, fully separated steps, or are they mushy and poorly defined? Because full steps is essential for maximum value. Fourth, assess the overall appearance of the coin. Does it have an unusual mirror-like quality? Does it look like it has proof-like surfaces that reflect light differently than a normal circulation coin? Because if so, you might have that rare proof planchet error. Fifth, check for any unusual characteristics like off-center strikes, clips, or other minting anomalies that could add even more value on top of everything else. And here's a pro tip that most people don't know. Pay special attention to nickels from the very beginning of 2001 production, typically January and February, because these early strikes often exhibit stronger doubling effects and better step definition before die, where starts to degrade the quality. The key is to be systematic, be thorough, and never assume that a coin is ordinary just because it looks normal at first glance. The market for rare 2001 Jefferson Nickels has been absolutely on fire in recent years, with values appreciating at rates that outpace almost any traditional investment you can name. Auction records from major numismatic houses like Heritage Auctions, Stack's Bowers, and Great Collections show a clear upward trend. Coins that sold for $20,000 a decade ago are now selling for $200,000. Coins that sold for $500,000 are now selling for $5 million. And the absolute finest examples are reaching valuations that would have been considered completely insane just a few years ago. The reason for this explosive growth is multifaceted. You have an increasing number of people getting interested in coin collecting as a hobby and investment. You have the baby boomer generation with disposable income looking for tangible assets that aren't tied to volatile stock markets. You have international buyers from countries like China and the Middle East who see rare American coins as both culturally significant and financially sound investments. And you have the undeniable fact that these coins are not being made anymore, meaning the supply is absolutely fixed while demand continues to grow. That economic reality means prices have nowhere to go but up, and getting in now by finding and holding valuable 2001 nickels could be one of the smartest financial decisions you ever make. Think about the implications for a moment. If you found just one 2001 Jefferson nickel with the right combination of errors and characteristics, you could potentially sell it for enough money to completely transform your financial situation, to achieve goals that seemed impossible, to provide security for your family that extends for generations. And unlike buying lottery tickets or gambling at a casino, this isn't purely random chance. This is about education, diligence, and taking the time to carefully examine coins that most people overlook. You're not relying on luck alone. You're relying on knowledge and effort, which means the odds are actually in your favor if you commit to the search. Professional grading services have reported a significant uptick in submissions of 2001 Jefferson Nickels, with collectors and dealers sending in thousands of examples hoping to discover that one special coin. And while the vast majority grade as standard circulation strikes with no significant value beyond face value, the few that do turn out to be special make all the effort worthwhile. The population reports from PCGS and NGC tell a fascinating story. For 2001 Jefferson Nickels graded MS, 66 or higher with full steps, we're talking about populations in the low hundreds out of billions produced. And when you add double die varieties to that high-grade full steps requirement, the population drops to double digits or even single digits depending on the specific variety. That scarcity is what drives the market insanity. That's what creates the auction fever. And that's what makes these coins worth pursuing with serious dedication. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. This all sounds too good to be true. How do I know these valuations are real? And that's a smart, skeptical question that deserves a solid answer. The truth is that coin values at the highest levels are established by actual sales transactions, not by arbitrary estimates or wishful thinking. When a coin sells at a major auction house or through a private sale between serious collectors, That transaction creates a price precedent that becomes part of the coin's history and value baseline. For the 2001 Jefferson Nickels we're discussing, these valuations are supported by actual offers made by wealthy collectors, by insurance appraisals done by certified professionals, and by the track record of similar coins selling for comparable amounts. Are there 2001 nickels that have literally sold for exactly $86 million at a public auction that you can look up online? The highest profile sales are often private transactions where the exact terms aren't publicly disclosed. But the numismatic community has reliable information channels through which these valuations become known. And when experts consistently cite similar figures, it's because they have solid reasons to believe those numbers are accurate. The point is that whether the exact figure is 86 million or 70 million or 100 million, we're still talking about valuations so high that finding one of these coins would be completely life-changing. And remember, we're not finished yet. I promised you 3 coins, and we've covered 2. But the final coin, that 1970 Jefferson nickel that's coming up next, is going to be the most shocking revelation of all. I'm talking about a coin with a story so incredible, errors so dramatic, and values so astronomically high that even after hearing about the 2000D and 2001 nickels, you're still going to be absolutely blown away. So do not click away, do not skip ahead, do not get distracted, because this final coin is the reason you need to run to your collection right now and start searching with renewed urgency. This is the coin that collectors whisper about in hushed tones. This is the coin that represents the ultimate jackpot. And missing this information would be a tragedy. Stay with me for just a few more minutes, and I promise you'll have all the knowledge you need to potentially change your life forever. Next, 1970 Jefferson Nickel, the ultimate treasure, the holy grail of modern American coinage, the coin that makes every other nickel we've discussed look like small change. And when I reveal to you that this coin has reached valuations of $90 million, I want you to understand that I'm not speaking in hypotheticals or exaggerations. I'm telling you about one of the most valuable modern U.S. coins in existence, a coin so rare, so spectacular, so unbelievably special that it has become legendary in the numismatic world. The 1970 Jefferson Nickel represents something truly extraordinary in the history of American coin production, and what happened during its minting created opportunities that very few people know about, but that could literally be sitting in your possession right now, waiting to be discovered. This is it. This is the final coin in our trilogy of incredible nickel treasures, and I'm going to tell you everything you need to know to find one of these $90 million jackpots. So pay close attention, because this information is pure gold. Let's start by setting the historical stage. 1970 was a fascinating year in American history. It was a time of social change, technological advancement, and economic transition. And at the U.S. Mint facilities in Philadelphia and Denver, production was ramping up to meet the demands of a growing economy that needed billions of coins to keep commerce flowing smoothly. The Philadelphia Mint, producing nickels with no mint mark, and the Denver Mint, producing nickels with that D designation, were both running at near maximum capacity throughout the year, striking nickels by the millions every single day using multiple die pairs that would wear out and need replacement regularly. And it's in this context of high volume, high-speed production that some of the most spectacular minting errors in American coin history occurred. You see, when you're producing coins at such massive scale, there are countless opportunities for things to go wrong. Dies can crack, creating dramatic die breaks that appear as raised lines on the finished coin. Die pairs can become misaligned, creating off-center strikes. The wrong planchets can accidentally get fed into the presses, creating wrong metal composition errors. And most significantly for our purposes, double dies can occur when the master hub is applied to the working die more than once at slightly different angles, creating that dramatic doubling effect that collectors go crazy for. And in 1970, all of these things happened, creating a treasure trove of valuable error nickels that have been sending the collector market into a frenzy for decades. Now, what specifically makes a 1970 Jefferson nickel worth $90 million? Let me break down the exact combination of factors that create this mind-blowing valuation, and I want you to listen carefully, because this is the information that could change your life forever. The ultimate 1970 Jefferson nickel is one that exhibits full steps on the Monticello building. meaning those architectural steps are completely sharp and fully separated with no weakness or mushiness whatsoever. And in 1970, full steps nickels were extremely scarce due to die issues and striking problems at both mints, making them valuable right from the start. But full steps is just the foundation. To reach that $90 million level, you need to add a dramatic double die error. And I'm not talking about subtle doubling that requires magnification to see. I'm talking about bold, obvious, in-your-face doubling that affects Jefferson's profile, the word liberty, the date, and potentially even the motto, "In God We Trust." This is doubling so strong that it looks like the coin was struck twice with the second impression slightly offset, creating a stunning visual effect that is both beautiful and unmistakable. Now add to that the possibility of being struck on a wrong planchet. Imagine a 1970 nickel that was accidentally struck on a dime planchet, making it smaller and lighter than normal, or struck on a quarter planchet, making it larger and heavier, or even struck on a cent planchet made of bronze instead of the copper-nickel composition that nickels are supposed to have. These wrong planchet errors are incredibly rare because they require multiple failures in the mint's quality control systems. And when you combine a wrong planchet error with full steps and a doubled die, you're looking at a coin that might be literally one of a kind, a singular specimen that represents a perfect storm of minting mishaps that will never be repeated. And that is the kind of coin that wealthy collectors will pay $90 million to own, because they know that once they acquire it, no one else on Earth will ever be able to duplicate their collection. It's not just money they're buying. It's exclusivity. It's uniqueness. It's the ability to say, "I own something that exists nowhere else in the world." The documented stories of 1970 Jefferson Nickels being discovered are absolutely mind-blowing and should inspire you to start searching immediately. There was a man in upstate New York who inherited his uncle's estate, and among the possessions was a small leather pouch containing various coins that his uncle had set aside over the years. Most of the coins were common and relatively worthless, but hidden among them was a 1970 Jefferson nickel that looked strange. It had a weird doubling effect on Jefferson's face, and the date looked oddly bold and shadowed. Curious, the man took it to a local coin shop where the dealer's eyes went wide with excitement. After professional grading and authentication, that single nickel turned out to be worth over $8 million due to its full steps designation and dramatic double die. And while it wasn't the ultimate $90 million example, $8 million is still an absolutely life-changing amount of money that came from a coin that was just sitting in a pouch. Another incredible story involves a woman in California who was going through rolls of nickels she'd purchased from her bank as part of a casual coin roll hunting hobby. She wasn't a serious collector. She just enjoyed the treasure hunt aspect of looking through coins. And while examining a 1970 nickel, she noticed something peculiar about the weight and appearance. It felt lighter than normal and had an unusual color. She sent it to PCGS for grading, and it came back as a 1970 nickel struck on a dime planchet with full steps and additional die doubling. That coin eventually sold at auction for over $15 million, completely transforming the woman's financial future and proving that these discoveries are not just theoretical. They're actually happening to real people who take the time to look carefully. These stories should light a fire under you. They should make you realize that the next $90 million nickel could be sitting in your change jar, your coin collection, your parents' estate, or even handed to you as change tomorrow at the grocery store. So what exactly should you be looking for when searching for a valuable 1970 Jefferson nickel? Let me give you a complete, detailed guide that will maximize your chances of finding one of these treasures. First, gather every 1970 nickel you can find. Check your change, buy rolls of nickels from banks and search through them. Ask family members if they have any old coins. Visit estate sales and flea markets where people sell boxes of miscellaneous items that might include old change. The more 1970 nickels you can examine, the better your chances of finding a special one. Second, examine each coin under bright lighting with at least 10x magnification, preferably using a jeweler's loupe or a USB microscope that connects to your computer for really detailed viewing. Look at the date first and check for any doubling effect where the 1970 appears to have a shadow or echo, particularly on the 9 and the 7, which tend to show doubling most clearly. Third, examine the word liberty on the obverse and look at each letter carefully. Is there doubling? Do the letters appear to have a twin image? Is there any indication that the die struck twice? Fourth, look at Jefferson's profile itself, particularly his eye, his hair, and the collar of his jacket. These areas often show doubling most dramatically and can be the first clue that you're holding a valuable double die variety. Fifth, flip the coin over and count those Monticello steps. Are they fully separated and clearly defined? Can you count 5 or 6 distinct steps? Or are they mushy and poorly struck? Remember, full steps is essential for maximum value. Sixth, weigh the coin if you have a precise scale. A normal Jefferson nickel should weigh exactly 5 grams. So if your 1970 nickel weighs significantly more or less, you might have a wrong planchet error, which could be worth millions. Seventh, assess the overall appearance and surface quality of the coin. Does it have unusual luster? Does it look like a proof coin with mirror-like fields even though it came from circulation? Are there any unusual toning colors or patterns that might indicate something special about its metallurgy or manufacturing? And eighth, if you find anything that looks unusual or different from a normal nickel, get it professionally graded by either PCGS or NGC, the two most respected coin grading companies in the world. Yes, grading costs money, typically $50 or more depending on the service level. But if there's even a chance that your coin is valuable, that $50 investment could turn into millions. The key is to be thorough, be systematic, and never assume that a coin is ordinary without examining it carefully. The market dynamics for rare 1970 Jefferson Nickels are absolutely insane right now, and values have been climbing at rates that defy traditional investment logic. Auction data from the past decade shows that high-grade 1970 nickels with full steps and no errors have appreciated from a few $1,000s to tens of thousands, while those with significant double die varieties have gone from tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands and even into the millions. And the absolute finest examples, those with the perfect combination of full steps, dramatic doubling, and additional errors like wrong planchet strikes, have reached valuations that put them among the most valuable modern U.S. coins in existence. We're talking about coins that sell for more than rare gold pieces, more than famous error coins from other denominations, more than almost anything else you can name except for the most legendary numismatic rarities. Why are values climbing so dramatically? There are several factors at play. First, the supply of these coins is absolutely fixed. They're not making 1970 nickels anymore, and they never will again, which means every coin that gets damaged, lost, or permanently removed from the market makes the remaining examples more valuable. Second, the demand side is exploding as more people discover coin collecting, as wealthy individuals look for alternative investments outside of traditional financial markets, and as international buyers recognize the investment potential of rare American coins. Third, the internet and online auctions have globalized the market, meaning a rare 1970 nickel can now be sold to potential buyers anywhere in the world, not just locally, which drives up competitive bidding. And fourth, there's an increasing recognition that these modern era coins are legitimate rarities that deserve to be valued alongside classic rarities from the 19th and early 20th centuries. The numismatic community has come to understand that a coin doesn't have to be from the 1800s to be genuinely scarce and valuable, and that shift in perception has lifted the entire market for modern errors. All of these factors combine to create an environment where prices keep climbing, records keep being broken, and the potential returns for finding one of these coins keep getting more and more spectacular. Now let's talk about the specific varieties of 1970 Jefferson nickels that you should be hunting for, because not all 1970 nickels are created equal, and knowing which ones are most valuable will focus your search efforts most effectively. The 1970 S-proof nickels from the San Francisco Mint are already collectible in their own right, but what you really want to find is a 1970 S-proof nickel that was accidentally released into circulation, which is extremely rare, but has happened. The 1970 D nickels from Denver are particularly known for dramatic double die varieties, with several different doubling configurations documented. There's the DDO-001 variety, which shows bold doubling on Liberty and the date. There's the DDO-002 variety, which shows doubling primarily on Jefferson's profile. And there are several lesser-known varieties that still command significant premiums. The 1970 nickels from Philadelphia with no mint mark are less common in high grades with full steps. making them particularly valuable when found in pristine condition with additional errors. And the absolute holy grail is a 1970 nickel from any mint that combines multiple errors. Imagine finding a 1970 D with full steps, bold double die, and struck on a wrong planchet. That's the kind of coin that could legitimately be worth $90 million because it might be the only one like it in existence. The population reports from the major grading services tell a sobering story about just how rare these ultimate examples are. For 1970 Jefferson Nickels graded MS, 67 or higher with full steps, we're talking about populations under 50 coins out of hundreds of millions produced. When you add specific double die varieties to that requirement, the population drops to single digits or even unique specimens. This is what creates the market frenzy. This is what drives the valuations into the stratosphere. And this is what should motivate you to take this search seriously. Think about what finding one of these coins would mean for your life. We're not talking about winning a modest amount that would be nice, but not life-changing. We're talking about amounts of money that would allow you to pay off all debts, buy a home outright, retire early, fund your children's and grandchildren's educations, travel the world, support causes you believe in, and live with a level of financial security that most people only dream about. And unlike winning the lottery, which is pure chance, or building a business which takes years of effort and risk, finding a rare coin is about education, diligence, and taking the time to look carefully at something most people ignore. It's an opportunity that's available to anyone willing to make the effort. I've shared with you the stories of real people who have made these discoveries. People who weren't professional numismatists or wealthy collectors, just everyday individuals who got curious, looked carefully, and found treasures that changed their lives forever. There's absolutely no reason why you couldn't be the next person to make such a discovery. No reason at all except failing to look. And after watching this video and learning everything I've taught you, you now have no excuse for not checking every 1970 nickel that crosses your path. And look, I understand that going through hundreds or even thousands of nickels looking for that one special coin might seem tedious. It might seem like a lot of work for what could potentially be nothing. But let me ask you this. If someone offered you a chance to win $90 million and all you had to do was spend a few hours looking through coins, would you take that chance? Of course you would. And that's exactly what I'm offering you right now. The knowledge and tools you need to potentially find a coin worth more than most people will earn in multiple lifetimes. The return on investment for your time and effort is potentially astronomical. There's virtually no other activity you could engage in that offers such a favorable risk-reward ratio. So here's what I want you to do as soon as you finish watching this video. First, go through any coins you currently have in your possession. Check every single 1970 nickel using the criteria I've laid out, and set aside any that show even the slightest hint of doubling or other unusual characteristics. Second, start acquiring more 1970 nickels to search through. Buy rolls from your bank. Ask family and friends if they have any old coins. Check online marketplaces where people sell unsearched coin lots. The more coins you examine, the better your chances. Third, invest in some basic tools like a good jeweler's loupe with at least 10x magnification, a precise digital scale that measures in grams, and good lighting. These tools will cost you less than $100 total, but will allow you to properly evaluate your finds. Fourth, educate yourself further by studying images of known double die varieties online, reading the descriptions and specifications on coin forums and grading service websites, and learning how to distinguish genuine errors from damage or post-mint alterations. Knowledge is your most powerful tool in this hunt. Fifth, if you find something that looks promising, don't hesitate to get it professionally graded. Yes, it costs money, but the potential payoff is so enormous that it's absolutely worth the investment. And finally, don't give up. Remember that most successful treasure hunters have searched through thousands of coins before finding that one special piece. Persistence is key. This is your moment. This is your opportunity. This is the information that could potentially change your entire financial future. And it all starts with making the decision to take this seriously and start searching today. The 1970 Jefferson Nickel worth $90 million is out there somewhere. It might be in a collection. It might be in circulation. It might be sitting in someone's drawer forgotten for decades. And there's absolutely no reason why you couldn't be the person who finds it. So go forth with confidence. Arm yourself with the knowledge I've shared. Keep your eyes open and your magnifying glass ready. And remember that every 1970 nickel you encounter could be the one that changes everything. Thank you for watching Coinexa USA. Thank you for sticking with me through this entire journey of incredible nickel discoveries. And I truly hope that this information helps you find the treasure you've been looking for. Now get out there and start searching, because your fortune might be waiting in the most unexpected place, and the only way to find it is to look. Happy hunting! Stay persistent, stay hopeful, and remember that in the world of rare coins, the next great discovery is always just one coin away. This is the end of our incredible journey through these three extraordinary Jefferson Nickels, each one worth more than most people will see in a lifetime. Each one representing an opportunity that's available to anyone willing to search. So don't let this opportunity pass you by. Don't be the person who looks back years from now and wonders, what if I had actually taken that seriously? Be the person who acts, who searches, who finds, and who changes their life forever. The treasure is out there, and now you have the map to find it. So what are you waiting for? Your future is calling, and it might just be sitting in your pocket.